This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 527 for the week of July 27th, 2025. Well, hello, and welcome back once again to Kanzenshuu, the podcast, an extension of the all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan site, Kanzenshuu. We cover anything and everything Dragon Ball in hopes of enlightening and a little bit of entertaining. I'm up a little earlier than normal. You can probably hear it in the voice. I'm not at quite coffee number 2 yet, recording the intro and the outro for this here episode, because we just recorded the topic last night. That's all edited, ready to go. I got to knock this out so I can get this episode out. We are back this episode. Oh, hey, by the way, my name is Mike. You may see me around as Vegito EX on that there internets. We are, in fact, back once again with the Kakarot review crew. It's Mike, it's Randy, it's Ken. We are talking about Adventure Through the Demon Realm Part 1, the 7th overall DLC pack, and the latest for the 2020 video game. Yes, you are listening in July 2025. We're talking about a Dragon Ball game from over 5 years ago, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I have said this game's title so many times that I'm a little numb to it now. Isn't this just the worst goddamn title for a video game, Kakarot? We've had that discussion before. Anyway, we are here to talk about the Daima DLC. It's an interesting one because it's the first, let's say, real adaptation of Daima story content in a video game. We are in the same calendar year as the completion of that TV series. It's just a weird one and an interesting one. That is the main meat for this here episode. But before I transition you over to the topic, at the top of the show, because this is going to be the last episode before this event, I do want to get one more reminder out there for folks. We, Kanzenshuu, and by we, I mean me, Mike, Vegito EX, will be at Otakon 2025 in Washington, D.C. this year. That is coming up in about 2 weeks, less than, from the release of this episode, August 8th through 10th in there, Washington, D.C. Going to the con just to have fun, but I am presenting Akira Toriyama, The World, a multimedia tour of his lesser-known works. I have been capturing, I have been subtitling, I have been doing slides. I am extremely excited to present a bit of a whirlwind tour through exactly what it sounds like, a tour of his lesser-known works. So this is non-Dr. Slump, non-Dragon Ball animated works / adaptations by and from Akira Toriyama. Some of the expected heavy hitters are in there. We will see some Go-Go Ackman. We will see some Savings Warrior Cashman. We will see some Pink. We will see some Kenosuke-sama. We may also see, and by may, I mean will, because I just got in the Laserdisc on top of the VHS release, Kosuke-sama and Rikimaru-sama, Dragon of Konpei Island, a non-manga animated work with Akira Toriyama involvement that I never see anyone talk about, myself included. Excited to share a history and tour and select viewing clips from these works during that panel. That panel is tentatively and should be concretely scheduled for Friday, August 8th from 7:15 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. in the AMV Theater. If you're walking into the panel, basically you go straight up, and take a left, and it's the big room up over there. Would love to see you there. Met a lot of great people last year. Took some photos last year. That was super fun too. Extended friends of the site will be there. That'll be very exciting. And hey, maybe you consider sticking around after the panel for the AMV contest, because like I said last time, Mike and Mary both got AMVs in the contest this year, so that's pretty exciting. Hey, mine may have some Dragon Ball in it. Just saying. I think that's where I will leave it before the topic portion of this podcast episode. I will see you on the flip side to give a little tease of future content and wrap things up. So let's head right on into it. Mike, Ken, Randy, reviewing Dragon Ball Daima, Adventure Through the Demon Realm, Part 1, the 7th DLC pack for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Let's go. Here we are once again, 5 years and change into covering this game. This crew here predates We Got a Podcast, and yet two of them are here to join me to talk about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot yet again. Here we are in July 2025 talking about this game. It's basically a new game. There's an entire new game in the game again. We are going to chat about the Dragon Ball Daima adventure through the Demon Realm. Is that the name of it in English? Someone fact check me here.
I didn't check that, so I guess so.
I remain Mike, and remaining with me to talk about this here game. Let's start my upper left. It's Ken. What's up, dude?
Not much. I just got us out of Superman, so I'm super in a great mood right now.
Oh, excellent.
Let's see how that goes talking about Daima.
I was going to say, is that going to color your coverage of this game? I guess remains to be seen. And continuing on this review journey, it's Randy.
It's me. Hey, I'm doing good. You didn't ask me how I was doing, but I'll say it.
I do want to know. Please tell me.
Well,
yes.
I've already told you, so yeah, you're good.
It hasn't even been 24 hours since I last talked to both of you. That's okay. I assume unless something catastrophic happened, we're all still doing okay. Yeah. Actually, I pulled something in my back yesterday and I didn't sleep last night, so I kind of feel like shit. So thanks for asking, everyone. Yeah, we're doing good over here.
Now I feel bad for saying that I felt good. I'm rubbing in your face.
Randy, you know my goal is to make you feel bad and then make you apologize for it later and then tell me about your therapy session later
Exactly.
on. So,
yeah.
Hey, let's do a little bit of a recap of this game. We are, in fact, talking about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. The base game itself, y'all, this game originally launched back in January 2020. Is that right? I always feel like maybe it was 2021, but I think it was 2020. We were COVIDing it up with this game. Maybe that's why I can't remember much about the launch of this game. That would certainly explain things.
We were still hearing about cruise ships in January 2020.
Oh my God. Stop. The base game, which we did review shortly after launch there, originally launched back then, covering, let's call it the base Z portion of the series, the typical Raditz to Boo, but not post-Boo, importantly. Developed by CyberConnect 2, probably most well-known these days for their Naruto video games. This is the 7th DLC pack released for this game. We live in an era where Xenoverse 2 continues to live. I don't want to look up when that game was released. That was 2016. Xenoverse 2, I think, is going to hit 10 years of continued support. So Kakarot at half that actually isn't all that crazy. I guess Breakers continues to get support. Fighters got support for a very long period of time. This is just how these games have been going lately. So this is the 7th DLC pack release, the first of the 3rd season pack, although they're not really calling it the 3rd season pack. They're specifically calling it the Dragon Ball Daima edition of the game. It is a new season pass, though, that covers 2 packs that cost $35 American dollars. Interesting. I definitely want to talk about the price to content ratio at some point. This latest one launched on July 17th, I believe it was, across all platforms. We'll check that date. And Randy, important to you, in conjunction with its release, I'm not going to call it what they call it, the HD edition, because it's kind of like an extra HD edition. If we remember, the game originally launched on the PS4 generation of consoles and did get a Switch release a little bit later than that. But when it got the PS5 and the Xbox Series releases, I think that was 2 years ago, they upgraded the foliage and bumped the frame rate on consoles to 60 FPS. Now, Randy, your PC edition of the game, Ken, I actually think you played it on PC initially as well. You've been flip-flopping a little bit here. Supported 60 out of the gate, but you're only just now getting the grass.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a long campaign of me emailing Namco
every day.
Bandai Namco. So it's just, every day I was on them, and then the news hit, and I was like, I got to pinch myself. This is not happening, right? It is. It happened.
Did you email them to thank them?
You know what? I have not, and I really should.
This really is going to be the episode of making Randy feel bad about decisions.
Oh, I'm feeling great. That's fine. No. So yeah, we got that. Do you want to hear how that whole situation works? Because it's weird.
I have heard. I saw some scuttlebutt, as I think y'all were talking about it on Discord. It's 2 separate install instances on Steam.
Kind of, sort of. You only have one like thing in your Steam library for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and when you click it to
Right.
play, it then gives you a prompt of like, which one do you want to play, standard or the HD edition? And then of course you can say, don't ask me anymore after this, and just always go with this edition. And so yeah, you pick one and that's what it is. But because of that, there are 2 installs of the game. So now the game is twice as large as it was before. So yeah, you can pick and choose which one you want and just like, manually delete the files to tame that file size back down. But anytime there's going to be an update or anything like that, they're going to be like, oh, you're missing some stuff. Let me download that for you. Oh, okay. There you go. So yeah, that's
I guess I appreciate it from a like legacy hardware
yes.
consideration. Like you want to be able to say like, hey, the thing you bought it for originally can still play it.
Yeah.
We haven't just replaced wholesale the entire game and like, oh, sorry, you can't run it anymore.
Of course, that's very important, and I agree that that should be there. But there's another function in Steam that I'm not sure.
Yes.
So, like the Resident Evil 2 and 3 got, sort of ray traced editions. And what
Yeah,
that
they had a
is-
similar thing like the console versions, right?
Yeah, exactly. But how that goes is you can go into your settings for the game and be like, oh, I want a beta version. And that's just their
yes.
overall thing. You just say, oh, I want the old one. And it goes, oh, okay. And it just downloads the old one rather than the new current version. So you only have one install, and you can still use it on lower end hardware, handheld, so on and so forth like that. But yeah. And it's also the version numbers are different. If you play the Daima stuff now, it's version 2.2. But if you play it in the HD edition, it's 1.3. And I assume that's because they, like the PS5 and the Xbox versions, changed
a new
version
1.0.
numbers. Yeah, so then I assume that's how it goes. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of a difference. So you were right. There's a whole lot of nothing there.
Well, good to have that update. All right, so let's set the stage one last time here. So the base game covered Raditz Taboo. We are, in fact, at the 7th pack. We got Battle of Gods, which was, they recategorized or kind of more explicitly named what they called these later on. Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, especially Battle of Gods, got kind of like reclassified as story, the like arcs versus episode kind of things. But then the meatiest of the meaty ones, we rounded out season 1 with an adaptation of the Trunks TV special. And then the season 2 pass came out, covered the Bardock TV special, importantly not Dragon Ball Minus, the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, so dipping pre-Z, and then the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai and post-game, I guess you could say, the end of Z. So we are like branching out the quote-unquote canonical storyline here, and now here we arrive at Dragon Ball Daima, and I don't know how much, if any at all, we want to get into the canonical discussion here about it covering Daima versus something like Dragon Ball Super, or maybe even some of the previous movies. Does anyone have like a one-sentence feeling on that they want to get out?
I can say that this taking place within the confines of Kakarot felt less alien to Z than the Daima anime felt to the Z anime.
I can totally see that, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of share sentiment there.
Well, here we are. We got the first of 2 packs. This roughly covers the first 8 episodes of the series, give and take a little bit there, depending on what you want to count within what episode broadcast there. And we are getting a second part that will cover the rest of the series in Q1 2026, which could be anywhere between January and March, which is almost a year away from now. Not quite a year, but that's a fair ways off. Let's start there before we go any further. Lots of discussions have been had about the marketing and overall handling of Dragon Ball Daima. We are a few months removed from the completion of the TV series. Here we get our first true video game adaptation of it, not just Goku Mini as a playable character in Sparking, anything like that. Sparking has had some DLC characters, but in terms of like story playability content, we've started here. What do y'all think about the timing for this coming out, and then the timing for part 2?
Personally, I love it because I was starting to feel a decline in my mental health while Daima was airing on TV. And so to have had the appropriate amount of space and time away from it was the best possible option for me to enjoy this for what it is. So is it a great move in the grand scheme? I don't know. For me personally, absolutely.
I already forgot when it was. Like, I normally have dates burned in my psyche. It was February back this year when Daima wrapped up. So it really will be a full year from TV series completion to game series completion, which when you put it that way, actually isn't too far off. It's just time has a strange feeling, I think, to all of us post-COVID and pre, during, and post-Daima as well. Randy, how about you, though? Your feeling on the timing of all this?
I kind of share how Ken feels that we've had enough time where as I was playing it and certain things occurred, it's been long enough that I have a sense of nostalgia and like, yeah, that was a good time. Even though a lot of the stuff in Daima, you can go back. We didn't have a lot of great things to say, but looking back on it now, it's like, oh, what a great time that was. And in terms of timing, didn't the English dub of Daima wrap up relatively more recently? So it's kind of, if you wanted to look at that way, you could say it's more timely. I don't know, but...
Ken, say the thing.
They're dubbing Dragon Ball?
I know. It's wild that they're out here doing that. I don't know anything about it, but this is what I hear, the scuttlebutt, so to say.
No, the extent of what I heard was at that Daima tour with the one video playing on loop, so I have no idea. Yeah. That's funny, though. They did dub this video game, though. Again, apparently, I couldn't tell you myself. But I know, Randy, the Daima characters are not dubbed in Sparking Zero? Is that the case?
Yeah, as far as I know. Because, again, I'm not playing that one in English either. But a lot of things that I've been seeing is that, they're still Japanese only, which is very strange in that this game is dubbed. So, like, why couldn't those characters have also been? I don't know what's going on there. Because as far as I know how the game industry works, you have localization teams, and those would work for, like, the licensor here. So, like, Bandai Namco in North America would be handling it. It's not CyberConnect 2 in Japan doing something like that versus, Spike Chunsoft doing it for, like, Sparking Zero for things like that. So I don't know what's the deal behind those decisions.
I'm not versed enough in what's been going on with strikes and agreements on certain things, though. I don't know what all that may have played into this. I'm just not. I have no visibility into the English side of things, so maybe that did.
Yeah, could have been affecting it. Yeah.
Any last thoughts before we turn our attention to the contents of this pack about the quarter one for part two here? It will be theoretically beefier than this. I mean, we were only talking up to, no real spoilers here, the Tamagami number 3 fight. And then, a little sprinkle there. Obviously, that's going to cover episodes 9 to 20, and there's more fighting to have down the road. But yeah, thoughts on part 2?
There will be fights. What else?
Yeah.
Because the rest of the series is characters discussing lore and then getting into fights.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could say the same about part 1. So let's get into part 1 of Dragon Ball Daima, Adventure Through the Demon Realm. I believe that's a title. Again, I'll look that up. The first question for y'all is about how long did you spend on this DLC pack? I think just about everything in terms of side story content. I didn't max out all my attacks. I didn't do like level 3 limit breakers on everything. I did a couple of them actually, because I was roughly in level enough to do it. And I think start to finish, I spent about 6 hours on it, which I think is more than a lot of people did.
I'm trying to remember the amount of time. I was trying to look that up earlier to see, but I don't have a save file from before I started versus now.
Yeah, see, I had one just below this. I was like, oh, I can very easily see exactly how much I spent.
Yeah, that's handy. I would probably say, also sometimes I would just press pause and do something else. I'd be distracted. Yeah. So it could be 6 hours. It could have been 8 to 10 for me. But I also did much of the same thing. I did all of the side stories. I trained up a lot of stuff. I didn't go all out and do all of the, super intense training, getting the sacred water things to like boost my level way up. But like I did everything else that's kind of in that list.
So 6.5 hours for main story plus sub-stories, all military police encounters, all sky seeds, all techniques learned, and then 30 minutes for the post-game and like kind of wrap up on a couple things. So 7 hours total for me.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah. I did all the sky seeds. I did all the military, just little encounter things there and there. And I was always confused, like, oh no, I got another horde. Oh no, it's only 3. I only have to fight 3 people. This is fine. This isn't bad at all. There's a couple times I was getting a little burnt out on doing some of those fights, but then you're like, oh no, it's only 3. This is not a problem at all. That sounds roughly in line. I guess we do need to give a little bit of a spoiler warning here. I mean, if you've seen Dragon Ball Daima, you know roughly the story of Dragon Ball Daima, and we are talking, again, beginning of the series up through Tamagami number 3 fight. There is game-specific stuff in here. We do want to talk about the differences between the game and the TV series, what's been added, what's been deleted, and we will talk a little bit about the post-game of this DLC pack. Not a whole lot to say there, I don't think. But if you do want to play the game first without hearing about it, encourage you to do that. You can knock it out in a weekend. It's a pretty easy one there. So from there, I guess I want to talk about your expectations heading into this game. We knew ahead of time that it was going to end with Tamagami number 3. V-Jump had a spread that said exactly how many episodes this was going to cover. Ken, let me start with you. As we talked about, with having a little bit of time removed from the series and rose-tinted glasses, almost as Randy was describing there, how are you feeling going into it? What did you think you were going to get out of this pack?
I don't know if I'm on the record as having said this, but I know I have said it to at least you two guys, that I thought this was going to be a better telling of Daima than the show was. And when we were watching the show, I don't want to speak for everyone, but it did seem pretty obvious that they were setting up mechanics like the bugs and the different ways that they work that could easily slot into a video game. And it all works out. And this is better than the show. And it makes the show feel like an adaptation of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all said from episode 2, it felt like, oh, this is just a village by village vignette RPG kind of game. And wouldn't you know it, it slots in pretty well here. Randy, how about you? What were you expecting going into it? Was it like, yep, this is what they'll do, and yep, they did it?
Yeah, exactly. It fulfilled expectations exactly how I figured that it would, for it being a Kakarot DLC expansion covering that material. I'm curious to think what you guys thought about the pacing of the story, because I have, I think, I don't know, an interesting feeling while I was playing that the anime, the story felt like we were just dragging on and going too slow. And I'm like, this pacing is bad, but perfect for a video game. And then I started the game and I'm like, we're going way too fast. We got to slow down. Like everything is moving at a breakneck pace.
Well, hold on. Let's start with the start of the game, at least the DLC. When we say game, we're talking about the DLC pack here. It warns you like, hey, we're going to show you cutscenes for 20 minutes. Do you want to skip it? And it's roughly like the first 2 episodes. And after about 3 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I am good to skip all this.
So you did? You skipped it?
I skipped it, yeah.
You missed them not explaining the Nyoibo.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff that just kind of glossed over.
Yeah, Goku just goes off and says, "I it's somewhere. I'll go find it." And then he goes.
You know what? I did see that much.
Okay,
it must have been after that. So I think that must have been early on in their explanation, or like you can skip certain parts of that initial introduction material. I feel like I don't know, it shows like actual screenshots and footage at points, doesn't it?
And there's a flashback when Goku is elaborating on the Nyoibo, and then whenever you're doing like the pansy. What are they called? Like Daima lore moments?
Oh,
or
yeah. The
Daima rumors, thing. I think.
Yeah.
And those are screenshots from the show.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, I skipped all that opening stuff and I just got right to it. So, Glorio's already, like, you're just going from the start. You're going on your journey there. Talking about that pacing there, I kind of just want to get right into what are some of the differences that you liked from the TV series versus the game here. I mean, something that jumped out to me immediately, like, we don't get we're stopping at the hotel. We don't get the bar fight. We don't get any of that kind of stuff. It gets replaced with what you would expect, which is random encounters out in the field, and a couple of battles here and there. Once you get the Sky Seed introduction, that becomes a game mechanic to have more fights and unlock those. They're like under attack by the military stuff. So say more on that. Take it away.
I felt like the writing was never trying to be cute with the lore or say too much. And it was exactly what I was expecting from the Kakarot writing team. Was when there was lore that was new, it was just kind of a side thing and explained. A couple of those things were like, they talk about Magellite mining. They talk about the Mako cartridges in Glorio's gun, which are never discussed in the show. Mm-hmm. They explain why the military police have such a heavy presence in the third demon world, because Kadan is a lazy ruler. There's just a lot of the little things that I was hoping and praying for from the Kakarot writing team to flesh out this world that happened here, and then ignored all of the Yuko Kakihara-ness of it all and just let things play out in a different way.
I want to read something. I'm just going to read it from the English version here. Ken, to your point, those kinds of things. They're talking about the floating, the platforms and everything. Per the English dialogue here. Kami's lookout floats above the earth too. Maybe it's like that. But then when the characters, I wish I had the exact follow-up to what they said, because they just dismiss it like, nah, probably not. No. It's something else. So it's like they put out this really great idea and then they kind of hedge their bets. They just get rid of it immediately.
They wanted to put the idea in your head.
Yeah.
Better than letting it linger for 13 episodes to have no importance at all. Just cut it off there.
Yeah. I think there were some differences in the way that they sped some things up that I did like. Like we do have, you had skipped, Mike, you had said you had skipped the beginning stuff. We have Degetsu and Goma doing their plotting and everything. Aransu shows up. We never have, here's Glorio clearly in the shadows to paint an idea of like who this character might be. So I feel there's kind of more mystery because we're shown less for his character. Granted, there's very little like suspicion that we get to see from Kaioshin for that whole thing. We also skip the working on Kaioshin's ship for a number of days before Glorio shows up. They get to the sanctuary to see Dende and all of that. And they're like, oh, I wonder what's going on. And all of a sudden, Glorio's immediately there. I'm like, okay, that's better. I like that. Less plain things happening.
There were a couple instances where they mentioned planes like, oh, here we go. But it was the right amount of plane discussion.
There's only this one singular plane incident.
Yeah.
I think Pansy, Glorio, Kadan, and the Minotaur all feel like more fully realized characters here.
Absolutely.
Than they did in the anime. Pansy, we get to go into her room and we see like the experiments that she's been working on. She's like freaking out about the technology of the new planes and everything. She's like her mechanicness becomes part of her character in this game that it wasn't in the show. Glorio and some of the side stuff, like we're talking spoilers here, the Minotaur cooking thing. And, he's like saying this food is yummy, and they're like, "Did you just say yummy?" Like adding more to him. The Minotaur, my God, the Minotaur. They gave him so much extra stuff. Kadan too, with the whole fish thing. It just felt like it was respecting these characters in a way that again, the show just wasn't pulling its weight.
Yeah, the Kadan one in particular, it's one of the earlier there's not a ton of side stories in the game, but Kadan and the fishing one and this like golden demon realm fish is one of them. And I think, Ken, to your point about just like really fleshing out the character, it's almost at the very end. I think one of the final things you get in that side quest when they've already found the fish and like the gem was thrown out apparently or something. And his two guards that you do see in the TV series, they're like, oh man, thanks for the time off. We want to go catch this fish. And Kadan just has some throwaway lines like, yeah, I know what my guards are up to and what they want to do and stuff. And this is cool. Like he truly is just like this laid back, cool dude that's in charge, but he really knows and understands what his subjects are up to and what they're thinking about and what they care about. It's a couple lines of dialogue that totally elevate that character.
I also liked that we didn't have the pink color grading over everything. That just kind of made the third demon world look a little ugly to me. In the anime, that's all completely gone. And I think it just looks nicer.
Yeah. You know what? Let's pause there then. Let's talk about the third demon world here, because we get one big map and then one small map, the Tamagami town at the end. But without the bar and flying to all these different locations, it's a much more condensed space than we're really shown in the TV series. Did it feel too small? Did it feel a good size? Like, were you expecting to come across other things in the world that just didn't exist there? I guess they make up for it with the floating platforms that you can go up to. There are some things in the environment. We get the Dabra statue that's part of the fishing quest there. So the world does have a bit of life. But yeah, what all did you think about the map and the world that we inhabit here?
I thought the map size for what is a DLC expansion felt appropriate for what we were all going to be doing and the amount of material from Daima we're doing. If there was anything missing, the thing that comes to my head is if we could have had some sort of thing to do with that Sea of Darkness. You know, whenever they run by it, they're like, "Oh, don't fall in there."
Don't fall in. Yeah.
We don't have anything that's like, "Oh, here's just like a quick flying mission" or anything of the sort. So it's just kind of like, all right, yeah, that's. I felt it felt appropriate to me.
It felt, smaller than the show would suggest, but large enough that before you unlock the Sky Seed, there was a part where I had to go back to King Kadon's castle for something, and I was like, this is a trek back here.
Yeah, because you can't fly. That's something we haven't talked about, is as we saw with the 23rd Budokai DLC, where, spoilers for that starts with your fight against Great Demon King Piccolo, which is a ground-based battle. We now have fully ground-based battles throughout this entire DLC, all ground-based. So, yep, when you want to go back somewhere, you're running that whole way.
And the world traversal felt nostalgic because it's janky like a PS2 era game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like, can I get up to that mountain? Well, I can get halfway up this little like insert into it. This is for me. The way I played Skyrim was I just want to jump. I forced my way jumping backwards up certain mountains to completely skip the dungeon to get to like the chest or the tablet at the end to unlock the shouts. Like, that's the way I play these games. I want to break it as much as possible. And this you almost can do a couple times. I got lost though, because there are the map isn't really good at showing the terrain of it. So it's like, oh, I just want to go straight, but I actually have to go like around to the right and then back up. It's like a looping path up the mountain. That stuff wasn't super clear to me. And I felt like that kind of added on to the traversal time for me.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember having this issue with the base game, but there were parts where I couldn't figure out which way my character was facing on the dragon radar in the top right.
Okay, me too. I can never understand which way it's facing. Is it just something about the sizing of the arrow? It's so tiny you can't tell because we're playing in 4K now?
It's that, and it's just poor contrast of those colors.
Yeah. Okay. I can't remember if I've mentioned that before too, but yeah, like every time I play this game, it was not just this pack. It's been the entire game, and I always forget about it immediately after I'm done playing. So thank you for vocalizing that.
Well, I'm glad that it wasn't just me, because I felt like I was going blind playing this game.
Was there anything it skipped that you missed? Like, would the bar fight have been interesting? I don't know how you would do it in this kind of storytelling, this engine.
Oh, yeah, because you kind of want larger arenas for the way that this whole combat works. I don't think a bar fight would have worked really well. I mean, this would have been a neat situation to, go into the bar, do the whole ordering some burgers, have a cool, well-animated CyberConnect 2 cutscene for that.
Sure.
And then, have it evolve to then, let's just take this outside. And then you go out and you have an actual
You fight 4 guys, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And then you're like, well, we beat him, let's go to sleep. And then the next day your ship's missing.
I think content-wise, there's not really anything I'm missing. Just the general, zhuzhed up bits that the show had where there was more stuff in darkness. Like here we only get when you have the Glorio fight. That's the only part that takes place at night. So the third Tamagami fight is kind of just, you're just still in the daylight area. And then there's no nighttime before Glorio either. So you're just in the same world, in the same environment the whole time.
So then, I mean, it is the way to describe this game. People are like, oh, it's an action game. It's an RPG. It's an open world game. It's not really any of those things, and yet it's all of those things at the same time. I kind of classify it as a fighting game dolled up and masquerading as a faux open world RPG. So that's really what it is. You're kind of playing as a fighting game for the most part, with dodges and key blasts and parries. Well, not quite parries. I guess Can you parry in the game? I guess I'm thinking more just like the teleport dodging kind of thing.
Yeah, there's no parrying.
There is a mechanic to like do some sort of like energy burst to like stop somebody's combo without having to teleport behind them. But
right.
Yeah.
Anyway, where I'm going is let's talk about the single fights versus the horde fights, right? You know, the two fights versus the horde ones. I feel like I've asked this a few times. That started in the Resurrection F DLC. Is that true?
Yes, that's where it started and then came back in prominence with the Bardock DLC.
Yeah. So these you have to defeat, 100, 150 people. It makes total sense for when you're at King Kadon's and you want to have that courtyard fight. And absolutely makes sense. Like, this is a great way to reintroduce that concept here that you will have a few more times with the military police in the future of the game. But I thought it was a fairly good mix, like we kind of alluded to before. To unlock all the sky seeds, you do have to do some fights against people. And actually, no, that one's not a horde mode. You're just fighting against 3 pretty high level guys there. So it does break up the monotony of the random battles, which aren't totally random because you can see them on the map, are almost incidental. And after you do a couple, you kind of never really have to do them again. So you can just run right past them.
You get all of your experience from just playing the game. You don't need to go and grind anything out at any point. This is a pretty easy game.
Yeah. Every time we do one of these, I always forget how to play the game. And so I lost the first fight. I hadn't equipped any healing items. I'm like, oh God, this is bad. And then that was enough to immediately get me back into it. And then I didn't have to heal at all. Whenever he tried the fight, like, oh, yep, I'm back in Kakarot mode. I totally got this here.
Yep, you kind of have to reacclimate yourself. I always try to play a couple of days beforehand, just a previous part of Kakarot, just to reacquaint myself. So that way when that DLC does drop, I can just go straight into it. Because otherwise, I've got Sparking Zero all in my brain. I've got to remap all of those controls and everything. So yeah.
That's the thing I always forget to do is you have to specifically equip items to like your D-pad hot button menu thing.
Right.
Never remember to do that.
I don't like the bug names. I'm just going to say it because there are specific ones to take care of different status ailments. So some of them make sense for taking care of, a headache or whatever these other ones were. I just was equipping, just give me some health back. I don't care. I'll suffer with the status ailment. I'm not going to keep track of what one takes care of what. That's annoying.
So that's something that's introduced in this game is the status ailments. Mm-hmm. They weren't really present in the previous games, and they are of no consequence.
No, not at all. You get stunned a little bit here and there. I guess, was I burned at some point? I don't know. It didn't really seem to affect anything.
When I did the rematch with the third Tamagami, I thought that was the level of difficulty that the first match should have been at. And it still wasn't even that hard. But I did have to use healing items, and I didn't have to do that the first go-around.
Yeah. I think I might have mentioned this with some of the past boss fights, but to me, they feel like they're starting to turn into FF14 style boss encounters where, like, I'm zooming the camera, like, up and over, and you got all these AoEs going off all over the place. It's like, oh, don't stand in the bad color. Just get around it and unleash after that. But
the only time I've ever had to drop difficulty in any of the Kakarot games is the Tao Pai Pai fight in the 2013.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Everything else has been perfectly fine at normal difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was a bit too easy.
Is it because of is it because of the ground-based battles, but the Tao Pai Pai one would have been as well. I feel like, I don't know, I like the ground-based. It's less to keep track of.
Yeah, I like the ground-based battles versus the flying ones of the base game, but I think that I don't think enemies do enough damage where it puts me in a place where I feel like, my back's against the wall and I've really got to struggle. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be hitting this combo and then make sure that my key is charged so I can do this attack and that takes up this many. All right, cool. We can keep on moving. Like, I say that as if I'm bored out of my mind. I had a good time. It's just, you kind of turn your brain off for a lot of it.
The problem with Kakarot is that if enemies are a few levels below you, they do no damage to you. Yep. And if you are a few levels below your enemy, you do like no damage to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between.
Yeah, there's some of the special on the skill tree to unlock that will help you do some more of that. Like, oh, if your enemies are a couple levels above, you do increase damage against them. But yeah, for the most part, you kind of want to be right in line or else everything's a pushover. And that's how it was for me with the game. Like, if you do everything, if you do all the side stories and get the experience, the game will just be a complete pushover. So yeah, by the time I got to the Tamagami, it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
I thought, what is the level requirement going to be? Like, am I ready? And then you start it, and I'm like 20 levels above. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. I do want to talk about the mechanics of actual fighting in this game because you have 2 assist characters and you have a guest character as well. You can command Kaioshin and Glorio to do attacks, and Kaioshin has a heal.
Yeah.
And that was often enough to get through basically anything if I needed it at all, which I thought was kind of wild. I mean, it makes sense for the character, but that really reduced the difficulty across the board.
He will heal you more than any of those bugs will.
Yeah.
It's not a consumable, so you can just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's just a cooldown for when it pops again.
I mean, it does take up one whole slot. These characters only have 2, so you are dedicating one, but really, what do you need the other one for? You might want more power for one. There's an attack that'll like stun enemies, so I'm like, I felt bad having to get rid of that, but it's whatever. For Pansy being the guest character, did
she do anything?
Yeah, she threw some bombs. Did you know that you could upgrade her attacks and she can learn new attacks? I didn't know that she had a skill tree until way later. I was like, oh.
I caught onto it early and I looked at it and I switched her thing to be like a healing item she would throw. And I swear to God, I don't think she ever threw that once.
Oh.
After I switched it. So I don't know if that's a bug or I just wasn't paying attention, but I'm pretty sure she just stopped being a part of the team at that point.
That's really funny. Yeah, that's my thing with Kakarot. Every time I come back to it, I forget about the skill tree and assigning items and assigning new super attacks as I unlock them along the way.
Well, and you also have to think that the community board, if you were doing that in the base game, that still continues over to this one. And so by the time you really... I wonder how this game feels starting it fresh, not having done Kakarot. Maybe it's harder. But we're already pretty maxed out with that.
Yeah, because by this point, we've done the community board from the base game and all the DLC. So we just got like pretty much everything filled up across the board. I didn't even look at it until towards the very end. I was like, oh shit, right. I have all this maxed out across all these boards over here. And you get new emblems to place on them. I don't know if I ever knew, and I still don't quite understand the gifts for some of the emblems and what they do. I saw numbers go up on certain things, and like, I don't know, the game's already easy enough that whatever this does is just gravy at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's trying to do something interesting, but just why is this here? Kakarot's not a perfect game. I love it to death.
Yeah,
but it does have its few issues.
I think there's too many systems. Is what it is.
Exactly.
Between the community board and leveling up things in the skill tree and then upping up like their know-how, is that what it's called? To like,
it might be. Yeah.
Give them those other boosts and things. Like there's a lot to keep track of here. And I think that they give you too much so that way it changes the difficulty where, it gets way too easy. If you're carrying over everything from the community board and, you grind out some things to have those skills and you equip the right ones, it can be like, I think it's just hard to balance a game when you have those many moving parts, and I think it shows that for Kakarot that it's tough.
Right. And so they are in fact selling a new edition of the game, the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Daima edition. I've actually outlined all this stuff on one of our FAQ pages, which I did a new update for, so it's all up to date with all the Daima stuff. So to play any of these separate DLC packs, you can access them from the main menu. But to get to the main menu, you actually have to play a little bit of the base game first. And I think I calculated if you just skip everything as much and as often as you can, it's about 2 to 3 minutes of Goku and Gohan and like going to get the fish or whatever at the very, very beginning of the game before you can press start and get the main menu. Unfortunately, it is like that for the Daima DLC as well. So if you buy this and you're like, oh, I just want to jump to Daima, which is a reasonable thing, and they kind of expect people to do that, you can sort of do that, but it's a little confusing. You have to play like 3 minutes. Or if you watch all the cutscenes with Raditz and shit, like it takes fucking forever.
The game does warn you, though, that if you haven't unlocked community board in the base game, you just can't use it in the Daima game.
That's fascinating. Okay. And I think that brings us back around to what is the intended difficulty for the game. And it's tough because they do want to balance it for everyone who's been playing it for 5 years at this point, as well as these new folks coming in. In fact, they've redone the editions of the game that you can buy digitally with like this master and legendary and what all is included with everything. Seems like they're really aiming for this Daima edition, could kind of be like the new base version of the game. Like they did with the Switch release where they packed in Battle of Gods and Resurrection F as like Spirit Awakens edition or something like that. Daima is kind of like the game going forward that you'll have access to. You do have to play like 3 minutes of press and start.
We haven't really touched on the music at all.
Let's talk music then. It's fine.
Serviceable, yeah. It didn't grate on me.
I certainly noticed it more than I did in the Daima TV series. It was there at an appropriate volume. Although you can adjust your own mixing on the game, so maybe that's what made it the right volume for me.
Oh, yeah, I have to turn sound effects down.
Yeah, way down. In this game, I have everything at like halfway.
Because we had 16 new tracks, one of them being the Jakajan TV version. My notes for that was, I miss this jam, y'all. I like that song a lot, and it had been a couple of months since I'd last heard it. But all the other things felt all right. Some of them were just kind of like, yeah, this is here. Some of them, I don't know. I've only played like 2.5 Dragon Quest games, but a couple of them, like, this feels very Dragon Quest, like in terms of the tone of just like hanging around in town. Or
the overworld theme feels very Dragon Quest in that way.
Yeah, it's an RPG overworld theme for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
There's one of the battle theme that sounds like it was from the show. It has, like, I guess the same instruments, but not quite the same instrumentation. But nothing overstays its welcome, like many of the tracks in the show, the 2 tracks in the show.
I'm still not sure what's on that CD. I haven't even opened it yet. I think the Daima soundtrack is going to remain like the Broly soundtrack, just in shrink wrap forever. I should open that one. I did actually just get the Jakajan and Nakama CD single, though. For some reason, Amazon didn't want to ship that internationally, so I bought it for like $4 on Mercari from someone and just threw it in my latest buy box. So finally got that there. We always say that the writing is the shining point in these games. We've alluded to a couple things here. I do want to talk a little more about the side stories because that's what's new and novel for this game. We've already mentioned King Kadan and his fish. The Minotaur was another great one that was completely unexpected. Apparently he's a gourmet chef.
Well, they couldn't put Suika in, so they had to give that role to someone else.
Yeah. I think this is a fine enough alternative to it, but he was gonna eat them. So like, if you're sitting down as a writer and like, what am I gonna do with this? What character traits do I have to work off of? Like, he's going to eat these guys. Well, what if he's also good at cooking in order to eat those people? And then, everything else that's going on. I thought that was pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, I will confess I didn't go back and find all of his locations on the world map. I should have. Because what happens is you get to the final town, Tamagami Town, and you don't have, at least as far as I can tell, I thought they said that you can get on the plane and fly back to the map, but I couldn't. And so to get back to the prior map, I had to do like story replay mode to like go to an earlier point in the story to have full access. I couldn't figure out how to go back to the map.
Oh,
in post game you can. I never tried it before.
I was in post game. Yeah.
Oh, you just go to the map and you press triangle.
Yeah, you just do the fast travel thing that you unlock then to just be like, all right, take me to one of the Sky Seed places to drop me off. And you
that's
just go.
User error then on my part, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think you physically have to go back to the plane. You just open the map and then hit the thing that says fast travel on the bottom.
Okay, because we do get the sparkly things. Like one is training and one is like go back to the base game. I'm like, well, I don't want to go back to the base game, but I do want to have access to this area. And I actually didn't do the final step of the fish thing, so I had to go back and do that of earlier as the side story, like in the story replay thing. I just got myself thoroughly confused, but eventually I figured most of it out, but apparently not all of it. I think that's just a little bit of the rushed, janky, too many systems kind of thing. Like, where do I find the exact thing that I'm looking for? In 6 hours, I didn't quite figure that out. So that's on me.
Well, it's okay, because the localization was rushed too.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah, legendary name, Neva. So this localization uses Namekian over Namek, and I'm actually not sure what the dub Now finding out that they dubbed Dragon Ball, I'm curious as what they use there. But
well, the subtitles that would be included are for the English version, so you're seeing what the dub script is.
That's
for
right.
something like there. So it does say Namek in there in the subtitles, but if you're listening in Japanese, they do just say Namekujin. So,
but in the encyclopedia thing for like Neva's page, and then in one other instance, they refer to him as the legendary name Neva. The text formatting's all over the place. It really
is
bad.
yeah.
And then there's just the usual untrustworthy stuff from dub titles. Like Glorio will be saying like, I'm on my way, but then you hear him say Glorio da. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did different variations on messing up what Goku calls him. Like there's Glordito or something along the way there.
Gordito, Gazebo, I think. Which that's cute.
Gazebo.
I'm not against that as a localization choice, but
right.
Yeah. You can tell you're not hearing the right things.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. When we're reading along with the subtitles and listening along to the Japanese dialogue, that's different from doing an English dub and a spin on it there. Yeah, I do want to talk about the text formatting a little bit because it really stuck out to me where there was a lot of Japanese style where it was like a line and then that line extended to the next line. And instead of continuing that as a full paragraph, there's a line break. And then the next line starts and then that extends down to the next line and it stops halfway. It just strikes me as done in Japan style.
Yeah, something like that. Or they use the line breaks from the Japanese dialogue, and instead of deleting those and just starting like, okay, we're going to do this one. Like, because, yeah, there's that one Goma bit where it's just like 4 or 5 lines that are all broken up very oddly.
I mean, that could be because I remember in the base game, when you open up that Z encyclopedia and you look at like the entries for different attacks, I can confidently say a lot of those are lifted straight from the guidebooks because I know how those are and how they're written. And it's almost like one-to-one translation. There's no like extra fun stuff they're trying to add in there. So maybe, yeah, you do have that part coming from Japan and then the rest of the like subtitles and everything are just brought in from the dubbing studios. Glorio's communication device makes a scouter beep, which made me think my phone was getting a text message.
That's funny.
And then he has a new type flash when he recognizes the Minotaur, which is fun.
And we got away from the story content a little bit. Let's jump to post-story in this. There's not a whole lot to say. I don't know what I was expecting because obviously it concludes where it's going to conclude with the third Tamagami fight. And then what else? Because like you're not going on to the next section yet. So anything that they would have would be in that area. So you can do things like the Minotaur is cooking, 6 different locations across the map. Go find him. You can do a rematch with the Tamagami, and it's basically just, hard mode. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's nothing to it.
Plus.
Yeah.
I thought maybe in the interstitial stuff before we move on to the second Demon World in the TV anime, we do like those bandits that like end up stealing the Dragon Ball while Goku and them are like staying at a hotel. It's like maybe that'll be the post thing, because every other one has had a little something more. But alas.
So yeah, this DLC is described as episodes 1 through 8, but it's really 1 through 9 minus the Vegeta stuff because we do get that scene where Dagasu gets the call about Goku getting the Dragon Ball, which is episode 9, and then we also get Arinsu and Marba with was it Ku? Is that the right one?
Yes.
Yeah, we get the tease of Ku. Yeah, we see eyes in the like rocks or crystals or whatever there. Yeah.
And it's so funny because they're trying to make him menacing, and we just know. We already know.
Right. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, our boy, he's almost here. And by almost here, I mean January to March 2026.
And will he be playable? Because he has a Tamagami fight.
So that is what makes me question what we're going to get in the next part. Because, the fights are really mixed between the various groups of characters. I guess we can speculate a little bit about that down the road. Is there anything else from part 1 here that stuck out to you? It was like, oh, cool. That was a fun addition. I like that. I like that story. I like those characters. We get a lot of just like random Demon World people out there. Some more memorable than others. I think of one guy in the final town where he's just like the self-proclaimed strongest guy, and that's just what he's talking about there. He wants to go fight the Tamagami as well. There's some cute dialogue like that.
More on the lines of, I thought the character models for all of our main characters in this were pretty good, especially Goku, because I very much dislike what Kakarot Goku looks like in the base game, especially his face and his hair. But this, they got it. Like, they were clearly following Kanzenshoo's character designs for adult Goku. I don't know what they were trying to base it off of, like what sort of art style or particular artist. But this one, you could tell, and I think that they did a very good job on that.
Especially Kadan, I think, looks almost like he stepped out of the show a little bit.
Yeah.
The way that his face and everything look. There are two things about how this story was remixed. We don't have the lady shop owner who introduces the bugs to them anymore, just the guy, which makes me wonder, are we going to do anything with that third eye post scene?
I was thinking about that too, because the couple of shops that you do go into, I assume everyone did this where you kind of like poke around the shop and see if you could see a third eye canister sitting around anywhere.
Nothing quite like that. And then as far as the third eye goes, we do just have Goma say what the third eye is and how to use it like right away, which is nice. So there's no like hanging mystery of what this thing's going to be.
Yeah, he's got the line, I wish I just wished for the third eye.
Well, and he also says, like they say that if you put it in your forehead, you'll get enormous strength or something, which isn't revealed until way later in the story.
Right. I don't know what else there is to really say. It's a pretty succinct telling of this portion of the story.
Right.
I'd have to rewatch the 8 episodes to see, do I like the episodes better? Do I like this better? Recency bias, I think I like this better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't think I could, in good conscience, recommend the Daima anime to anyone who like came out of Z years ago and hasn't been following, and like because it's so different than that show. Yeah. This, I could say, like, hey, if you're in the mood for like a PS2 era type tie-in game and you know what you're getting into, this is the way to experience Daima.
I guess it remains to be seen what part 2 delivers and whether that is like, oh, yep, they made the best version of Daima here. I tend to believe and have faith that that will be true. You think about the Not Ginyu Force fight. That stuff was pretty bad in the TV series, and can we streamline that a little bit, make that either just faster or funnier somehow? I do worry a little bit as the cast expands for the second half or second 2/3 of the show, as we get Ku and Do, and we finally get back to some like B plot and C plot stuff in the TV series. This part works well because it's just these main characters on this little journey. And the whole time we were all saying like, show us Goma, show us what Goma's doing. Finally, when we do get that, it works for the TV show. Will that work in a game, and how will they make that work in a game? We did get that occasional cutscene to, like you mentioned, we got Degasu taking the call. We did get Glorio stepping outside to have his call with Ari and Sue. That'll be tough with part 2 of this game. How are they going to make us love Ku and Do?
I am not expecting a lot from that because we have 2 demon worlds we have to go to, and I think that how this game has worked, Kakarot and things.
Randy.
Yeah.
Are we going to the hamster planet?
That's a good question. No, we're not going to, because what Kakarot does for all these things is we've got to look at it from a game design perspective of like, okay, we've got to be making assets for maps and, different character models and things. So when you have something that is, kind of tertiary and not really important to a thing, they'll just get away with like, oh, that happened. They'll just say it, or they'll show us a screen cap, of something like that. So a lot of those things, like the cutting back and forth, the A and B's, like, no, we're just going to have characters just all standing around and then just say like, yeah, that was a thing that we did. And they're like, oh, okay. And then move on. We won't show these places, and we'll just, whatever is easiest and cut some corners that we can, which is a bummer, but the stuff that they do work with is always pretty good, at least from a charm and writing perspective.
I think what my prediction would be is that they're going to add in playable mini Vegeta and playable Do. I don't think we'll get Ku. I think Ku will be relegated to like a cutscene of him having lost to the Tamagami, and then we get to do that fight successfully as Do. And then that will carry us through until Super Saiyan 4, in which they'll have to give you like a custom moveset for that, for Goku. Mm-hmm. And then again in their adult forms. I think that's probably best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you're only Goku and everything else is cutscene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just guest fighters on the side. Like, you're going to be able to give whether it's Tamagami number 1, was it? And do like commands during that fight against Goma, like the initial thing. How many times are we going to fight Goma? 3?
Oh my God. Well, maybe we'll get a fight against him in his small form, which is something the show really went the coward's way out on that.
Uh-huh. We never got the tornadoes. Little guy with tornadoes.
None of that.
Give me those. Make them as frustrating in battle as possible, and I will still love it.
That is that boss arena avoid the AoEs kind of battle, just waiting to be designed for this, for sure.
We did have an enemy that did throw tornadoes at you, so they've already got those assets and that game mechanic set up for that enemy. Just throw that on little Goma there. You're good to go.
Do we get to fight the Ginyu Force, or no?
I can see it being just a single 1v5 kind of thing. But then again, if you think about the show, it was just like a failed attack and then it was kind of over, right?
They'll be just reskinned, regular military police enemies that, you just fight 1v5 or 3v5, however many people you're going to have in your party at that moment. And
you could cut it out seamlessly.
You could, but how much stuff are you actually going to be able to do in the second part? Because what is Demon World number 2? That's we fly around, we find Neva, then we go to...
They talk.
The big planet, and then they go straight to... we do the war on the first Demon World, and then it's over. So
we're going to have some Horde battles there. It'll be, 2 or 3 Horde battles, followed by 3 or 4 Goma fights at the very end there. Mm-hmm. But before that, I guess you get Vegeta Tamagami fight. Do you get the fight against the dog and the Kid Giant?
They do have giant mechanics in place.
It's true.
From the Piccolo fight.
There's not going to be a lot of running around or exploring, which I felt like was the charm that I enjoyed in this whole part. I felt like 90% of the game I was in key sensing mode, just running around rather than looking.
Oh my God, I never use that. I just run. I feel like they place the orbs and they just naturally lead you to where they want you to go.
You can do that, but no, you got to do the key sensing to see where everything is.
I'm curious as to whether or not they will remove the guardrails of ground exploration, because they can fly in the third and first worlds.
Yeah, very true. And I had, while I was running around, Glorio and Kaioshin and Pansy I could hear them constantly flying. Sometimes they would just zip right past me for a bit before then quick landing back on the ground. I was like, oh, so you guys are flying. That's nice for you.
Did you have any jankiness? I know I posted one clip of Kaioshin getting stuck in his like fast movement position out in the world.
I had no crashes once I removed all of the mods that I had installed from before, which was simple things like I wanted paler Super Saiyan hair. So sue me, all right?
All right.
Better. So I had to remove that. And the thing that had showed up in previous DLCs where we had a character that isn't rendered other than just their face, I didn't run into any of that. I took note that I never saw anything like that. I
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't. Otherwise, I had no other jankiness, no weird performance issues that had happened randomly in previous ones in the PC version where everything ran great. And all of a sudden, one fight, they're like, what if this ran at like 20 FPS? Like, why? But okay, sure.
I'm excited to see where they go with this next one, because it could go a million different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this one was going to be the most straightforward and as expected of the two. We got basically what I figured they would do. I don't know. Yeah. For that second one, as we get more characters, who fights who, how, with what guests, and how many times is really the big thing. And then Randy, like you said, what do we do in the meantime? We can certainly have characters talking, but Kakarot is about running and flying around and gathering those orbs and hearing that as the characters lock on to the enemies out there, and you find chests and stuff. Anyway, it's a fully realized kind of like overworld there. Certainly got more stuff on the overworld than Final Fantasy 16 did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Feeling pretty positive about this first one. I'm not sure how it comes across from the discussion. I pretty heartily recommend it. I think $35 is something we talked about earlier. A little bit of a hard sell, but if you're buying this if you've made it to 2025 and you haven't bought Kakarot, just buy this new edition that has it mixed in. Pretty easy sell there. How do we feel about the $35? I guess until we see part 2, it's hard to say.
It's worth it to me because I walked away from this so positive in a way that I didn't with the anime.
Yeah.
And so for me to say that there's something Daima I can just really get behind, that's almost worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have things that I dislike about Kakarot that just are going to carry forward to all these. So there's nothing in particular for the Daima part that takes away any other points for it. But the things that Kakarot does well, the charm, the writing, the kind of ambiance of like being in that sort of world, I really like. And while I don't think that it was a fantastic gaming experience, I looked forward to every session I had to sit down and play just because I like to be there.
I guess the way I look at it is, other than, again, having to play 2-3 minutes of hammer and start to get to the menu to play it, you're looking at a $35 effectively standalone game here, covering Dragon Ball Daima. What's a Crunchyroll subscription? That it's probably what, 2.5 months of Crunchyroll for a better version of the show here,
and no AI subtitles.
Needs a little work, but yeah. Pretty positive across the board. Recommended?
Yep, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, not up to Trunks level, but we're getting there.
But what is?
What is? Yeah, that's the tough part.
All right, that is part 1 of Adventure Through the Demon Realm, which apparently has 2 chapters within it, which I thought was confusing at some point. Like where it said, like the skill tree or things, like you can't do it until part 2 or chapter 2 or something. Like, oh, does that mean the thing that comes out in Q1 next year? Or and then it never like has a break that says, hey, you're in chapter 2 now at any point.
Oh, Mike, are you ready to accept that Goku goes Super Saiyan 2 against the third Tamagami now?
I thought about all of you as that happened on screen, yes.
Well, we thought about you. I know I certainly did. I'm like, it's there in the skill tree, Mike, and they show it very prominently in the cutscenes. Come on.
And it's explicit in the encyclopedia.
Look, the game doing it better.
That's true. That's fair. The show, I think, did that just fine, but sure.
Right. I am ready to take that L there. Part 1, recommended. We'll be back again sometime between January and March next year to cover part 2. Cover that and what will at that point be the entire package of the Daima DLC for this game. Who could say if there will be a season 4 of Kakarot? We weren't expecting season 3 here. Curious that they choose to do a Daima game as a self-contained game within a game here, as opposed to its own thing. I wonder if at some point this is the kind of thing that they could actually break out and sell as its own, like down the road, $20 standalone executable. I don't know how you'd make that work, but it certainly seems like it could be.
I don't know if it would be worth it.
Yeah, considering it's already its own thing with its own box art of just Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Daima edition with the same boring character illustration and gradient background. But, it is what it is. It's $50 I'm looking at here, which is just, it includes the base game and the voucher for the entire Daima, 2-pack thing. So it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But
considering the base game is regularly $20 and sometimes $7.
Yeah, it's not a bad package.
I'm just curious in general about how well Daima stuff sells.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if this is like a worthy venture for them to go forward really doing anything with.
I mean, especially here we are with this 3rd season pass, you really do wonder, how have all the other ones been selling? Apparently well enough to try it here for Daima. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this was cheaper than doing its own standalone. Here's a game that just covers Daima. We've got to come up with, we've got to pick a developer, we've got to pick a genre and like
game mechanics and all that stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just know Vegeta fans are some of the most feverish out there, and even they're not buying these Kid Vegeta figure arts. $20 clearance at Walmart. Oh, Mike's pulling his up. He's got his.
Is this the guy we're talking about?
Yeah.
With the arms that are attached together. Oh, no, they're not attached. Oh, no, there's just no hand on that arm there. Yeah, this thing sucks. But look, it was there at the tour. It was all I could buy. Those 2 little ones. All right. We'll see y'all again sometime between January and March. I'm positive we'll talk to you on this here podcast before then. But why don't you give that plug? Randy, folks want to hear more for you.
Oh, yeah.
From you. You can want to hear for you and from you.
For me and from me. Well, you can hear both me and Ken over on We Got a Podcast, Dragon Ball from A to Z. We're doing it every other week. And as Mike says, we're the companion podcast to the Kanzenshuu one. So, if you want to hear more from cool people, there's us on the Kanzenshuu Down weeks.
Ken, you're there too.
Yeah. And we are wrapping up the Granola arc. So Doug will have basically seen everything there is to see for Dragon Ball Super outside of some prologue and epilogue stuff. So it's exciting times for him, for us, and the audience.
Yeah, you got 3 more chapters that wraps up that arc, and that's it. And then y'all going back to some kind of one-off discussional topics in the future, get away from reviews again for a bit?
Yes, yeah, I need a break in editing for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to go back to school for just like one class at a time. So it actually works out perfectly where I can't be reading extra stuff. I got homework now, guys, like actual homework.
But as a tease, we've discussed, I would really like to revisit Garlic Jr., so I think that might be down the line.
It's a good one. That self-contained stuff is always fun to revisit because it's less of a time commitment and generally not something you've seen in a number of years. So
Yeah.
the reassessment's always a fun time. Cool. Where do folks find We Got a Podcast?
Well, you can find it on your regular old podcast apps and so on and so forth. Otherwise, there's also a really great YouTube channel that you can check it out on. Isn't that right, Ken?
I don't know about great. It's good. Passable, some might say.
No.
Acceptable, even.
Looks great. Sounds great. All right. I have been Mike. That has been Randy. That has been Ken. This was part 1 of Daima DLC for Kakarot. We'll see you again for part 2. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, as always, to Randy, to Ken over there at We Got a Podcast with Doug. I'm hoping you will actually hear from all 3 of them independently for something different and special coming up on a future podcast episode. Stay tuned for that. Good buddies, good knowledge, good conversations. Stay tuned for it. The other thing I wanted to leave you with, this is a follow-up to something I've talked about a couple times on the podcast. I don't remember how explicitly I've mentioned it. I know I wrote up a Patreon post for the patrons over at patreon.com/Kanzenshuu about looking for the origin of the title page popularity poll. I'm excited to say that I figured it out. I bought more issues than I needed to because I didn't look carefully in the first place. But that is going to be just little footnotes on the manga guide respective chapter pages on the site. But I'm going to make a little feature about it as well. I think it's an interesting thing, interesting side note in very, very early Dragon Ball manga serialization history. My problem is that I was looking for something a little too conspicuous, and that is not what it was. It was not a splash. It was not a color page. It was not a side column. It was not even on the reader survey cards where you might expect it to be. It was someplace else, and I initially overlooked it. And then I said, hey, I got to do a retread through every single page from all the chapters that it could possibly be in. And wouldn't you know, found it down at the bottom of a page. So that is a tease that we will talk about definitely on the podcast, definitely on the various pages of the Dragon Ball all-encompassing fan site, Kanzenshuu.com. That is www.kanzenshuu.com. That is Kanzenshuu.com. That is your one-stop shop for all things Kanzenshuu. What else do I want to leave you with before I get my butt back to panel work and preparation? Let's see. I already mentioned patreon.com/Kanzenshuu. Y'all help keep the lights on every month. I think we've effectively fought back against all the AI scraper bots. We've been pretty stable for a while now. Glad to see that. Fuck those guys. Of course, I could and usually do plug grabyournearest.com, aka twitch.tv/VegettoEX. Most Saturday nights we are streaming, and we are on that schedule now where, well, you just missed the stream the previous Saturday, and then we're going to be off, actually, for likely 2 weeks. I got something this coming week, and then Otacon's the week after that, so most of us will be out of town for that convention. So check out the VOD on that. Good times all around. We will see you back on the streams in August. Prepping some other good things for the fall. I got podcast plans laid out basically through the end of the year, which is a little scary, terrifying, waku waku to me over here. Look forward to that. I have been Mike, VegettoEX, here from Kanzenshuu. Thank you for tuning in. Great to have you. Hope to see you at Otakon, and if not, of course, contents of the panel will be a podcast episode in the future. Of course, without the video clips, but sure. I'll see you next time here on the podcast and out there across the internets. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.